Every dream's on track. I am light, I am whole. All abundance flows back. Time is my ally, the present my gold. Every truth I embody turns to riches untold. From the silence I rise, from the stillness I see. All I need, all I ask is with ease into me. I breathe in, I see, I breathe out. I am here, I am blessed, I exist, I possess. I am paid to exist. Abundance on my list. Every breath that I take is a proof of my gift. All abundance flows back. I am paid to exist. Abundance on my list. Every breath that I take is the proof of my gift. What I seek. Hey, friend. Okay. Hey, twin. Okay. If I see 6, 7, I'ma know who it is. Kyrene. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the likes.
Hey, thank you for the light. So the message I'm channeling right now is the veil has been removed. It is up to you to recognize it. I was hearing the veil distorts our vision. Spirit wants me to look up the spiritual significance of a wedding veil and the definition of a veil. I also need to look up the spiritual significance of the curtain going up and a curtain call. I was hearing main character energy. The production of your life required many actors to play different roles. And I'm getting the image of like the theater mask where it has like a happy mask and a sad mask. And so I feel like Spirit is talking about the contrast of life. Like the contrast, the balance. We have to have both in life. And so I feel like that's what they're talking about, the different actors that play roles in your life's production or life's performance, life's movie. So I'm gonna look up the spiritual significance of a wedding veil. So the spiritual significance of a wedding veil varies by tradition, but common themes include purity, modesty, and reverence. In some Christian traditions, it symbolizes the veil that separated God from humanity, which was torn when Christ died, granting believers direct access to God, and lifting of the veil signifies the couple's new intimacy. In Judaism, it symbolizes modesty, the bride's purity, and the groom's commitment to her beyond physical appearance. And that's while also reminding of the story of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. Other traditions associated with humility, protection from evil, and the transition from maiden to wife. Okay. So the definition of a veil is a piece of fine material worn by women to protect or conceal the face. A thing that serves to cover, conceal, or disguise. And so that's what I've been talking about, the divine being revealed to like the human experience, the human eyes, the divine so divine beings can reveal themselves or not. It's just their vibration is what creates their visibility. So all this time they've been vibrating at a frequency where the human eye cannot see it, but there's certain gifted people who can see into the divine. And so I've been talking about how the divine is going to start making themselves visible to I'm hearing the naked eye. So it's going to be a point where you won't have to use like your third eye to see certain things. You won't have to be like this tapped in spiritualist in order to see into the divine. And so I'm gonna look up the spiritual significance of a curtain going up, like in theater. I just put in spiritual significance of a veil going up and down. I didn't mean to put veil, but a veil going up signifies revelation and access, while a veil going down signifies separation or concealment. And I've been talking about being in the book of Revelation. And so revelation, it basically translates to the divine being revealed. In a spiritual context, the tearing or lifting of a veil can mean direct access to God, spiritual clarity, or a breakthrough. As the temple veil torn at Jesus' death. Conversely, a veil going down can represent blindness, misunderstanding, or separation, as in the gospel being veiled to unbelievers. So, like I was saying, the veil has been removed. It's up to you to recognize it. And so basically when the veil came down, it created blindness, misunderstanding, or separation. And Spirit is saying that that is what traditional religion created. So they placed a veil on people through religion. And so the divine is going to be, I'm hearing, flipping the tables over of traditional religion. Because it's kind of like the story about how like zoos train animals not to run away. So I was talking about previously that they train elephants by chaining their feet long enough where they get so accustomed to being chained by their ankles or whatever that they just lose the desire to move beyond their enclosure. And so Spirit is drawing a comparison to that concept where traditional religion is what created a veil. The divine did not create a veil. And so that has created the separation, the blindness, the misunderstanding, the illusion is what I'm hearing, the illusion that we don't have direct access to God. And so it's interesting that the whole story of Jesus dying to remove the veil, actually, like that whole, I'm hearing concocted story, is what created the veil. Because then you have a situation where people are worshiping a deity outside of themselves, worshiping an energy outside of themselves, and dependent on something outside of themselves in order to have a relationship with God or source, or have access to source. And so they're bringing my attention to that scripture that no one comes to the Father except through me. And so when you are brainwashed or programmed, or you have a paradigm that has been created for you that basically says, if you're a non-believer, if you don't accept Christ as your Savior, then you will not have access to source. That is the veil that was created, because you always have access to source. You've always been connected. You've always been tapped in. But if you have this idea in your mind imposed on you that you have to believe in Jesus, you have to be a Christian in order to then have access, and then on top of that, they act like you won't really have access fully until you transition. And so I know for a long time in my mind, it was like, well, how does this one energy hear everybody's prayer, talk to everyone at the same time that they're trying to access this energy? How does this person spread themselves everywhere? And I get that, the concept is the omnipresent, omniscient, all seeing, all hearing, all knowing. But at the same time, it has still been placed in a box. And we basically have been taught that we can't get a prayer through to source unless it's through Jesus. And we've been taught that Jesus is at the right hand of God. So when we pass on and get judged, we have to go through Jesus. And if we didn't believe in Jesus when we were in a body, then we won't have access. And so that's what Spirit is talking about, this veil that has, this illusion of a veil that has been created to teach us that we're separate from source. Hey Michelle, thank you for the gift. And so I want to see what the curtain going up and down is. because they were incorporating the theater. So it's the same thing. The spiritual significance of a curtain going up and down relates primarily to the concept of separation and access between God and humanity. Going up symbolizes a barrier representing sin, separating people from God's presence, while going down signifies the removal of the barrier and direct access to the divine. So that's interesting to me, because if we're talking about the veil being removed, or the concept of the veil being removed, and then the divine is drawing a metaphor or a comparison to the curtain in a theater going up and down. I mean, obviously when a curtain goes down, it separates the actors from the audience, and then when it goes up, it gives the audience access to the performance. So and with this definition, going up symbolizes a barrier. But I guess that would be like coming up from the ground versus from above. So like going up would be the barrier. Kind of like a gate that comes out of the ground instead of coming across. If a gate that comes out of the ground, that creates a barrier, and then going down gives you access. Let me look up curtain call. So the spiritual significance of a curtain call generally relates to the conclusion of one's life and the subsequent judgment or legacy left behind. I've been talking about that shit too. Spirit calling judgment on this planet, and it being the final curtain call, the conclusion of one's life and subsequent judgment or legacy left behind. In this metaphorical sense, a person's life is viewed as a performance, and the final curtain call represents the moment of death and accountability for one's actions. And that's what I was talking about, with the concept of Jesus and having to go through Jesus to get to source. Now, I will say that based on Egyptian beliefs and from what I know from my energy and downloads that I've gotten, there most definitely is judgment. There most definitely is an intermediary, like a judge, that separates us from source. So whether you want to look at that as Jesus or just, an Egyptian deity, there's still a judgment phase where certain energies are allowed to transcend back to source, and certain energies have to come back to incarnate because they didn't complete their assignment, basically. And so that's why I talk about the soul contract and doing what it is that you are supposed to be doing in this lifetime. Hey, Indigo Starseed, yes, Source Soul, yes. And so that's why I talk about that pretty regularly, because the soul contract is so important, especially in this lifetime, because I've been talking about how we're in the book of Revelation. The veil being removed is revealing the divine. The end of the book, the final chapter, the final curtain call. So it's and then when you talk about like the final judgment on the planet and the rapture or whatever, it doesn't mean that no one's going to incarnate anymore. It means that there are going to be people that there's a flipping. So the people who have been, I'm hearing the word pillaging the planet, are facing final judgment. And so they're now going to have an opportunity to rectify the damage that has been done. And so that's what it's talking about, the conclusion of one's life, the judgment or legacy left behind. And I've been talking about inheritance being a legacy. So inheritance encompasses a lot of different things. It encompasses wisdom. It encompasses money. It encompasses the traditions that we have passed down. It encompasses the ancestral patterns. That ties all into cycles, karmic cycles, generational cycles, bloodline, DNA. It encompasses all of that. And so those are all parts of inheritance. And when people hide wisdom, knowledge, information that connects us to source while we're in a physical body, those are the people that are facing final judgment. So it's going to be a situation where not only are you not going to be able to access source when you transition, but you're going to be automatically booted back to incarnation, whereas other energies don't have to incarnate. They incarnate at will. They incarnate to help the collective. They incarnate to help people complete their soul contracts, to fulfill their soul contracts. And so I'm hearing that those people facing final judgment are essentially just going to have to wallow in the shit that they've created. I don't wish that on nobody. Okay. You said heal, no purpose, absolutely. Oh, thank you. You said you are wise. Unique, riddle, and / empathy wins. Absolutely. You said, who did Tarzan love the most? Gorilla who raised him, or mother who died in the jungle? Collective. What do you mean by that? You said big empathy. So you're saying, you saying he loved the gorilla who raised him more than the mother? He said, hey, I wanted to know your thoughts on parallel universes. I mean, they definitely exist. Because that's basically what astral traveling is. So you astral travel to parallel universes. I know, for instance, I had a dream so my dog is named Onyx in this this universe. Um and then I had a dream of me and Onyx where he was like a baby, like a person on Mars. So we were on Mars and I was protecting him from the battles that were occurring on Mars. Um and I at the time I didn't even know that there had been like this war or battles or whatever occurring on Mars. Um and at one point I felt like it might have been a past life, which if everything is happening all at once and we're all, we're all of our timelines, all of our, existences on parallel universes are running simultaneously. And that is those are the intricacies of spirit that even if I try to explain it, it's so complex that it's difficult for, first of all, for me to put it in human words, and then for the human brain to conceptualize it, because we're talking about, like I was talking about the other day, how I had a past life reading where the person was describing my past life as a cave woman, and it mirrored my life currently. Well, I mean, technically, I'm living in both places. I'm living in all places. And so when I had my awakening, I was collapsing timelines. The only spirit has said that the only timeline that cares about time is essentially, and I love that word, but the only place that cares about time is Earth. So there's, to the divine, there is no concept of time. There is no separation from all of the versions of yourself. And so you are learning from yourself. And that's where I talk about the difference between spirit guides and ancestors. Can you have spirit guides that weren't you from a past life? Yeah. But your spirit guides, and when we talk about past, present, and future, that's still putting things in a box of time. But if there's no such thing as time when it comes to timelines, that means that you're living in all experiences. Your energy is in all timelines and all experiences and all space at the same time. And so, like, who you are in this timeline is a spirit guide to yourself in a different timeline. And so, it's a deep concept, to say the least. You said quantum physics and science. Yeah, subtle, simple subconscious training. Yeah. Control your dreams, subconscious, conscious messages, Joseph in the Bible. You said Joseph pondered the way for interpretation of dreams. Yes, yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, astral traveling. Thank you for the follow. And that's what I'm talking about, astral traveling, because you're not traveling to a past life. You're astral traveling to you in a different parallel universe. And so that's what I was getting at when I was talking about my awakening, because I talk about how we incarnate with the same energies over and over and over again to work things out, to clear bloodlines, to fulfill soul contracts. And when I was having my awakening, I was collapsing different timelines into where I am now. So I was reading energy from all of the timelines that I exist in at once. But it felt like all of those things were happening to me in the moment. And because and so this is what goes back to what Spirit was talking about, like you being the main actor, in your production or your theatrical performance, and you having other actors as a part of this performance. Excuse me, because you are, like I said, you're learning from yourself from different timelines. You're experiencing things from different timelines. And it's all affecting you on every single timeline. So when I experience something traumatic in this timeline, in this vessel, it's simultaneously creating, like, what I'm hearing is a ripple effect through all of my other existences. And so that's why we can have, what's called like irrational fears, or we can have experiences and not really know why we're afraid of those experiences or certain types of people or certain energies, because we're experiencing things from, and that's kind of like what the veil has created as well, where normally we would be actively I'm hearing like actively benefiting ourselves in different timelines. But if we don't understand that we're interacting with ourselves in different parallel universes, we get kind of lost. I'm hearing like lost in the sauce. We get sidetracked because there's a lot of information and a lot of experiences that can also help you navigate through this timeline. So when I was collapsing timelines, I was reading energy from experiences that I've had, like for instance with my dad and my sister, in parallel universes. But because I was collapsing all of that information into this timeline, it was so like such a visceral, real time experience that I was experiencing them or their energy based on how they were acting in other timelines, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. Yeah. Timeline energy, yeah. Yeah. And so when religion creates an environment where we can only conceptualize this timeline, or we can only conceptualize ourselves as being in this particular human vessel, subconsciously we're not really benefiting from all of the experiences that we're having in other timelines simultaneously. And Spirit is saying that is where your power lies. And that's where your power, your wisdom, your all of your gifts, because you have, and I'm going to use the term past lives because that's just easier to digest, but past lives are occurring at the same time. So, the wisdom that you have gained from past lifetimes are accessible to you in this timeline because everything is happening all at once. Okay, you paid for a mini. Did you send it to Cash App? Okay, I got it. Uh, you said, do you think you can dream of other time? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Astral traveling, because that's if you can remember the astral travel experience, then that is the dream state, like what we call the dream state. If we can recall what's happening in the dream state, then we can we're basically reading ourselves in other timelines. And um and so, like, the spirit is talking about sleep paralysis, and that is basically like when of course your energy never totally leaves your body. You're always like tethered to your energy, but basically your energy, the majority of your energy, I'll say, is joining yourself in another timeline. You said quantum entanglement is good for training timelines, finding the purpose of thoughts. Yeah. Using both sides of your brain. Right. Oh, training, not practice. Yeah. And so I've talked about this before, where in one of the pictures that I had done for my energy reading, Spirit had a church and had like an image of me astral traveling away from the church, or like above the church. And so that's basically what Spirit is talking about with this reading, because they're showing me that image where when we transcend the brainwashing of the church or traditional religion in general, then we're able to then connect with our the other versions of ourselves and other timelines. You said when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Absolutely. So technically, our soul consciousness is split since we have other versions of ourselves. Yeah, I don't know if I would use the term split because it's all connected. But I mean, yeah, I would use the term spread out versus split, because split kind of indicates um like a separation, because they're not separated at all. They're all intricately connected. And that's why we can connect so easily with certain energies, because we're living in parallel timelines with other energies. So, like when you meet someone, say you meet um a romantic partner that it just seems like you know the person already, you've known them forever, it's because you're interacting with them on other timelines. He said, yes, you are your best preacher for sure. hmm What type of reading did you want? Just general? Thank you. Okay. Alright, so Spirit, what does Diamond need to know for her highest and best good? I asked that her higher soul, spirit, guides, and ancestors of the highest light and vibration would also contribute to her reading. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for protecting us. Oh, God. Okay, so what I was getting was academically gifted, high test scores. Does that resonate for you for your childhood? You said not really. My sister was better at school than me. Okay. Um so I was considered academically gifted, but I didn't have high test scores. Were you and I was also getting childhood illnesses. I might be reading your sister. Excuse me. You mean because of the light? Excuse me. You said yes. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease at 10. Okay, so I'm not saying any of this to scare you or like to have you be paranoid going forward. You said you had to go to the hospital a lot. Okay. I'm prefacing what I'm about to say because I don't want to scare you or anyone watching or whatever. But um what I was hearing was monitoring spirits under surveillance by entities with high levels of security clearance. But spirit is cloaking your energy, and I was hearing childhood illness slash a lot of testing. And so that might be what high test scores meant. So it doesn't mean literally like in school high test scores, but what happens is when you are exposed to the medical industry or like the school systems. So the reason why I was asking you about being academically gifted is because there's talk about the talented and gifted program being like a government program to pinpoint energies that have like alien DNA, if you will, or um uh are part of Christ's bloodline. And so when you are exposed to the medical industry and they start really looking at your DNA and your blood and all of those things, you may not have been aware of how powerful you are from like a spiritual, energetic bloodline perspective, but these entities do. And so when they recognize people who are testing very high on these, I'm hearing modules. I don't even know what the hell that is, but they have it basically how the military, what Spirit is saying is how the military tests the alien matter. So, in Congress, they've been talking about um, alien subjects who have interfaced with the Air Force. So, you can bet your bottom dollar when they actually have physical bodies of these beings who are flying these crafts, they are testing those beings and comparing them to human beings. And so, whatever your testing revealed, it revealed that you are pretty much the same. And so, that puts you in a different category of like experimentation, if you will. And I'm not trying to scare you or um make create an environment in your head where you're paranoid about being watched all the time. Because when I say like monitoring spirits, surveillance, and things like that, it's energy. So they don't have you on like a radar in, the military. It's just that they collect DNA, collect blood, collect samples, and are constantly studying. What Spirit is comparing you to Henrietta Lacks. Because Henrietta Lacks, if you ever heard that story, she's basically the catalyst for cancer research because of the way her cells do replicate it so quickly. They use her cells for everything that they are doing as far as cancer research. You said modules are individually tests like unit tests. Okay. Yeah. So basically, they're to organize people in groups like upper middle poverty class and government. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that you've been identified as, and like I am one of those people, but in school I felt like I didn't really comprehend well. I felt like I could read, but I was slow at reading. I would read something, but not really comprehend it, not really remember what I read 5 minutes later. But they wanted me in the academically gifted program. So I was confused, like, I feel like I'm slow, but so that's what I mean, is that they can tell when someone is not of this world. Okay. Like, you're here, but you're not really of this world. Okay. Um, so what I was also hearing is that, so your energy was originally tasked with reading the energy grids of the planet for deposits of natural resources. So when the beings that were here to establish the planet, your particular assignment was reading the grid lines and determining where to put oil, where to put gold, where to put, you know, certain crystals, where to put, so whatever, like I'm hearing petroleum, like all of the whatever natural resource you can think of that is embedded into the energy grid of the planet strategically, you were on that team. And so that's why, even in a human vessel, your composition, your body composition mirrors these alien beings, because you're not of this planet. It's giving like old blood type, because old blood types are the original beings of the planet. You said the periodic table. You mean like all the elements of the like uh like platinum and all that stuff. Platinum, zinc, iron. Yeah. Are you still here, Diamond, or have I run you off? Have I completely freaked you out for the day? Yes, you being an OG, honey. And I would venture to say, and I'm not trying to be counterproductive to your diagnosis or anything like that, but I would venture to say that occasionally you will be diagnosed with something that they think is one thing, but it's really not, because your DNA, your makeup, your chemistry cannot be compared to an average human, if you will. It's not, and that's why I feel like they started comparing your DNA to like alien matter, because it's just not, you cannot compare your chemistry to anything else. You said yes, I had the doctors confused, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Yeah, that's what it is. So I feel like spirit is saying to, you have to listen to your body. um if you're in pain, I'm by no means telling you to go against doctor's orders or anything like that, but I'm saying that if you can detach yourself from a particular diagnosis, like some people talk about, like my MS or my, you know, whatever, like they associate themselves and identify with a particular diagnosis. And I feel like spirit is saying you should not be identifying with a particular diagnosis, because when people don't understand what something is, they give it a label. And so like the medical industry will give things a label so that they can prescribe drugs and surgery and different treatment modalities and all that, but it could be something totally different. And so um our minds control, and especially when you talk about an autoimmune disease, our minds control everything around that. Our diets control a lot of that. So when you have alien DNA, you can't eat a regular diet. When I say regular diet, I mean processed foods, I mean sugar, I mean like processed sugar, processed candy. And I'm basically speaking to myself, because I'm gonna tell you what happened before I got on live. So I went to Costco this weekend, and I bought a container of cookies. And it wasn't like the big ass platter of cookies. It was a moderate size amount of cookies. And I was like, if I just eat one a day, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Everything in moderation. Like I'm justifying purchasing this shit. And I just before live, I ate like a salad where I had some avocado. It was so good, y'all. It was avocado, tomato, and I put some tahini on it and some pepper and some mozzarella cheese, some shredded mozzarella cheese. Baby, when I tell you that thing is bang bang, bang a bang. I had that, and then I pulled my cookies out of the refrigerator, and the cookies fell all over the damn floor, and I was pissed. First of all, because it was an entire box, because I have literally only eaten like maybe 2 or 3. Okay. And it hit the damn floor. And Onyx was over there trying to get to it, and I'm like screaming at him because some of them are chocolate chip cookies. So it was like chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin, macadamia nut. I was pissed. Higher self said, that'll be a no. Correct. I was like, why did y'all do that to my cookies? Because, honey, I'm not eating nothing off of this floor. Even though I, Swiffer my floor on a regular basis and I only wear my indoor shoes primarily in the house, I walk through the jail. When I don't give a damn what the situation is. If there's even a damn footprint up in here from the jail, I ain't touching shit off of that floor, and they know it. I'm not washing, I ain't even wrenching it off. So, when you like autoimmune diseases and stuff like that, largely hinges upon us putting unnatural chemicals. And when I talk about you being someone who deposited natural resources into the grid line of the planet, honey, those natural resources came from you. You ain't have like a backpack with natural resources in it where you were like, oh, I'm just gonna go deposit these crystals today. No, honey. You deposited these natural resources from your DNA. So for you to put foreign chemicals in your body, it does something totally different to you than somebody else. Because we're talking about, just like Lotus was saying, your makeup is essentially the periodic table. So if you're not giving your body the things that it is composed of, it's like bing, 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 bing. We don't know what this is. We don't know what this is. We don't know what this is. And so that is a message for the collective, really. Because if we want to start talking about like the root causes of autoimmune diseases, cancer, type 2 diabetes, skin irritations, all of the digestive disorders. Now, I'm not saying that your brain, stress, the environment doesn't have anything to do with it, but I'm saying that the food that is packaged, that is genetically modified, that is not straight, pure, organic seeds or grown in organic soil and all that stuff, it's gonna create some issues. Yep, it's the food we intake for sure. And so, you know, with your type of DNA as well, the Food and Drug Administration can use your DNA to test different, like new and innovative um, manufactured foods and stuff like that. And my spirit team is bringing me back to basically a doctor, a PhD that I worked for when I was in college. So the National Institutes of Health has a students program. It's called the STEP program, like Student Temporary Employment Program. And so when I lived in North Carolina and I was in college, I was a part of the STEP program, and I got paid basically to work as like an intern. It was like a paid internship to work with a very well known, well respected doctor who studied how people metabolize drugs. And so they would use, you know, like mice and rats and stuff like that to do their testing. But that's the type of industry that would use your DNA and look at alien DNA and look at all these different things and compare it to like what we would consider regular human DNA. Um, in order to figure out like how people metabolize certain foods and drugs, and I mean it's all interconnected. And so I would, you know, these are just things that spirit is revealing to you so that you can start to think about different lifestyle changes and recognize your power and recognize, you know, attach instead of identifying with a disease or anything humanly, identify with how like supernatural you are and how original your DNA is and how original your energy is and how intricately connected you are to the planet. Um, are you sensitive? Are you very sensitive to electronics like power lines um and things like that? And honey, if your DNA is made up of the periodic table, it don't matter what you thought you were academically. You said not particularly, but I can say I used to get super bad migraines when I was younger. And that's probably why. Because you're sensitive to I'm hearing EMFs. I think it's electronic frequency. Lotus, I know you probably know what EMFs are, child. Stop. One second. Electromagnetic field. Yeah. Yeah. So that's something to pay attention to as well, because um electromagnetic fields are everywhere, from your cell phone, if you have a smartwatch, if you use AirPods, if you um so all of that will throw off your, I'm hearing, equilibrium. So if you've ever dealt with like vertigo, or because when you get migraines, it causes nausea and all that stuff. So that's basically messing with the equilibrium of your brain. um and so it would be beneficial for you to get like EMF protection. So yeah, electro EMF, or electromagnetic field, refers to electronic and magnetic fields that travel as waves and are present in both natural and artificial sources such as power lines and wireless devices. Protection against EMF involves reducing exposure by increasing the distance from the source, limiting time spent near sources, and using shielding. So there's different ways that you can shield yourself from EMFs. Like, there are things that you can attach to the back of your phone to reduce the EMFs. Um, my sister has been having issues with EMFs, and so her doctor told her to stop using AirPods that are, Bluetooth and stuff like that. So she uses corded headphones at all times. Like, she uses nothing with Bluetooth. And um so those are ways, like not holding the phone to your ear. Like, I very rarely talk on the phone with my head to my phone. I'm on speakerphone or talking through my car 99% of the time. First of all, because I'm a germaphobe, and phones are some of the nastiest things in the world. Because your hands are nasty, because you touch everything, and then you touch your daggone phone, and it's touch screen and all that, and you put the screen to your face. I'm grossed out. Okay. You said, and quit calling me out. You starting to act like my spiritual mother. Honey, you might as well be a damn AI or some shit. Because all I got to do is ask you a damn question, and you were like spitting out the answer. The human encyclopedia. Papa. So yeah, so with you having, with and that makes sense, because if you were responsible for grid lines and ley lines and all of those things, you're intricately connected to the electromagnetic field of the planet already. So when you're intricately connected to the electromagnetic field of the planet, and then you add artificial sources of EMF, and that's what I'm talking about. Anything artificial that uh Spirit is saying, um what's the word they're using? Con I'm hearing something like contra-intuitive, or um counterintuitive. That's not the word. I mean, I guess it could be because it's counterintuitive, it's contrary to intuition. And so your intuition is intricately connected to like the electromagnetic field of the planet. So any kind of and natural resources of the planet. So anything counterintuitive coming into your energy field, aka your body, your aura, all of that is going to throw your systems off. Congenital. No, not congenital. Congenital is kind of like what you were born with. I mean, yeah, but I think it's more counterintuitive because like in your intuition, your intuitive nature is, like I said, your intuition deposits these natural resources into the planet, into the grid lines. So any artificial source of a natural resource or and food like fruits and vegetables and all anything that grows from the earth is a natural resource as well. So you're also connected to those things. No, I wasn't trying to talk about the clairs. I was just saying that basically anything unnatural that you're bringing into your energy field is going to create a problem for you. Uh, yeah, I looked up the definition of khanate because I don't know what that means, child. But no, it's more so because her, like, for instance, our intuition downloads information. Her intuition actually downloads and deposits natural resources. That I ain't never heard of nothing like that. That's next level. Okay? I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that right there, right there. You said in genealogy it means of water trapped in sedimentary rock during its deposition. Yeah, I don't think that's what Spirit was talking about. I think they meant counterintuitive because her intuition filters natural resources versus like, and I'm not saying that you don't have the clairs because we all have the clairs, but your intuition is actually transferring divine intelligence, and it's like filtering through your intuition and depositing that intuitively into the planet. So it does have to do with your intuition. Oh Lord, somebody done got blocked. What the hell is that? They speaking Orisha statues are available. Get out of here. Got a scam account trying to promote a damn scam account trying to promote products. A damn Orisha statue. Get the hell out of here. Thank you for the follow. It's I appreciate you, cause honey, that was ridiculous. Ridiculous. You hear me? All right, y'all. I'm gonna get ready to go to bed because I gotta get up early. Tomorrow is my Friday for this week. And you want to talk about somebody that is excited, okay? Excited. But thank you for trusting me with your energy. And I hope that that helped you. You're welcome. Yes. I will put this on YouTube. I'm kind of behind on posting my videos on YouTube, so I'm trying to do some catch up. But I encourage anyone who gets a reading from me to screen record or voice record or whatever you want to do, because I feel like it should be revisited. I also feel like if it's a positive message, I don't want people dwelling on messages that are corrective in nature, if you will. But if it's a message that will help you to, if it's a message that will help you connect to your higher power, your higher self, attach to your purpose and give you purpose and help you to move towards your north node. And I don't feel like any message is like negative, because it's all, I've gotten hard messages many times, and it was something I needed to hear. It was something I needed to revisit, but I'm not going to reprogram my mind with that. I'm going to reprogram my mind with the things that are going to hype me up, basically. So you said I'm going to look into the duct cleanse or some type of parasite cleanse. You said, girl, we not worried about you. And really, honey, it ain't even me. It just not me. It is not me. Actually, I want to pull some cards on this reading just to see what the cards say. I don't know why Onyx want to sit in my lap right now. But yeah, I was talking to Spirit before the live, and I was just, because there have been people, especially men, who have come into my life who awaken the love in me just to like play games with my emotions and stuff. And I mean, maybe they're not playing games intentionally, but I don't like stuff like that. Like, if you're not fully single and available, don't disturb my peace. Because I've been very patient and I've been very peaceful, and I'm in my little flow of creativity and building my brand and all that shit. And I don't need nobody coming over here disturbing my damn little peaceful haven that I have established. Oh, you said she left? Okay, I'm gonna still pull some cards right quick. Yeah, let me just pull cards on her energy, well, on her reading. You said one more scam account coming here, I'm going to go up. Yeah, and this is basically what society has done to people with her type of energy. Just restricted them, made them to not feel like they were powerful beings. When these people in the medical industry know when they're dealing with a powerful being. Yeah, and I was talking about creating illusions and confusion that came out for her as well. And these other cards, I'm not gonna discuss that since she's not here, but because that's probably for another day. It is somewhat connected to her reading though. What's your question? You said, can I apply at Council Crossing and the nursing home? Higher Soul Spirit, can Lotus apply at Council Crossing and the nursing home? I'm getting the energy that you're not gonna like those jobs at all. I mean, you can apply, they're not saying you can't apply, but the energy around it is that you would not at all like those positions. Her Soul Spirit, what's the recommendation for where she should apply? Hey, Tom, I see you. Excuse me. Now, child, I don't know if this is a metaphor, but they're showing you as a bartender. Child. Does that mean anything to you? You said, child, yeah, that's a stretch because me bartending A bunch of drunks. Yeah, I don't, cause initially I was hearing waste industries. So I don't know if there's like a waste industries headquarters in your area, or waste management. Um, and then I was seeing bartending, but Spirit, can you give me some clarification on those? Well, you know, alcohol is called spirits, and serving spirits. Um, I had thought about applying at OKC Water. Okay, well then that might be something for sure. Cause I mean, the nasty part is that our water comes from like waste water. Ugh. Like sewage. Ugh. I don't even want to think about that shit. But I would definitely, if that's what you were thinking about doing, I would definitely go that route. And I mean, water is a drink. It's not an alcoholic beverage, but it is a drink. Yeah, I was on their site to see if they had customer service support. Okay. Yeah, I mean, customer service, serving drinks, and water is a drink. So yeah, that would make sense. Bubba, get down. But yeah, child. They said that nursing home or whatever that was, you would be damn probably laying people out day one. Cousin folks all slam out. He said, and mom wanted me to apply for housekeeping at her job, which is at the hospital. Yeah, ooh, girl. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with at the hospital. And so I looked up serving spirits because, like, being a bartender, it would be serving spirits. And it says acting as an agent of divine beings, like angels, or in a Christian context, possessing a personal spiritual gift of service. Ministering spirits. Ministering spirits that serve God or sent by Him to assist and protect believers. And you know, if you know how to blend That's being a mixologist, like blending, coming up with your um, prescriptions. I wonder if they're talking about the tea blends as part of. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because I was hearing mixologist. Executing divine will, protection, and guidance. It says ministering spirits are created beings that operate under God's authority, not disembodied human spirits remaining on earth. Well, hell, that's deep. Because I've been talking about disembodied human spirits remaining on earth. That would make sense because they gave me a name for the entire business Saturday on my walk. Okay. Yeah, and the Hierophant came out, and it's a no. Spirit's like, you know better than that. Spirit saying, you know better than that. I really feel like they know that you're not ever gonna be comfortable in a 9 to 5, and they're trying to move you away from that idea. But I know you have to, you gotta do what you gotta do in the time being. But that's what I feel like they're, when they answer questions about jobs and stuff, they're going back to like the spiritual aspect. Excuse me. Okay, y'all. Like I said, I'm just over the medical field, and I spent 20 plus years in that. Yeah, there was no positive energy around that idea at all. None. And I mean, like I said, I know that you got to do what you got to do for the time being, but that doesn't mean that you just have to be miserable in a job. Because if you're miserable at a job, then that's going to affect your mood, your emotions, your creativity. It's gonna definitely, it will hinder you wanting to get on live and build your business and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's a no for that industry. You said mama up here laughing. Is that your spiritual mother? Alright, y'all. I was about to go. Thank you for hanging out. It's been real. Alright, y'all. Good night.